The United States is the most powerful country in the world. There are people here on TikTok and around the world that might hate that statement. They might be like, it's up to opinion. But the reality is, America is the most powerful country in the world. And to give an example of that power that reflects how much power we have, I want to read this quote from Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. Shall we expect some transatlantic military giant to step the ocean and crush us at a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasure of the earth in their military chest, with a Napoleon Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio River or make a track on the Blue Ridge Mountains in a trial of 1,000 years. At what point then is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reaches us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide. What Abraham Lincoln is saying is that the whole world combined could not defeat us in a war. And he's right, right? Why is he right? Some people want to say that it's our fighting spirit and that we're so tough and powerful in our freedom. They might point to the Constitution. And while all those things have some truth to it, they're not the main reason. In fact, the main reason allowed for those other truths to even exist. And that main reason is our geography, right? There's a great publication called Stratfor. Stratfor, they're a geopolitical think tank, right? They wrote an incredible article called The Geopolitics of the United States, The Inevitable Empire. In it, they basically said whoever controls the middle third of the North American continent would be able to control the whole world. And they're not wrong, as we see today, as us being the main power. Let's read some of their words. The American geography is an impressive one. The greater Mississippi Basin, together with the intracoastal waterway, has more kilometers of navigable internal waterways than the rest of the world combined. The American Midwest is both overlaid by this waterway and is the world's largest contiguous piece of farmland. So here we see this waterway from the Mississippi all the way to New Orleans and all the tributaries from the Missouri River, Ohio River, Arkansas River. All of it flows together into this incredible water highway system. Yes, you have other rivers like the Nile and the Amazon, the Congo, that may be more impressive in length, but you can't necessarily take a boat on them and travel them and trade on them, right? All of that becomes complicated once you have waterfalls and rapids, but the Mississippi doesn't have that. We have a book, Mark Twain, where we have a Tom Sawyer and his partner riding like a canoe down the Mississippi River. Like the Mississippi River is like a long floating lake, and it's easy to trade and do business. And what benefit does that have on the United States besides having such an abundance of food and besides allowing us to trade easier? Well, first, trading by water is 10 times cheaper than truck, right? And imagine horse and carriage. So we were able to create and hold a massive amount of wealth because of those rivers. But now here's the even more important part. Let me put this image of the United States on top of Europe. The United States goes from Ireland to the middle of Russia, right? We even could dip down into the Middle East. We're a massive continent, yet we are one country, where Europe is 50 countries. That's because a lot of European countries built their identities on these individualized river networks where they would build their own civilization and then compete and fight with each other. Where the United States, we shared that farmland. We shared those river networks. This is why we have one main language, right? We may not have a country where everybody loves each other, but screw black, white, yellow, red. Everybody loves green, right? And if you can make money, you'll work together. And that's part of the reason we became united. We didn't have to worry about fighting each other. And if we didn't fight each other, we could just accumulate massive amounts of wealth. And why were no other countries coming to fight us from other parts of the world? Because we have two vast oceans. We have the Atlantic and the Pacific protecting us. If anybody wanted to come fight us, they would have to be incredibly wealthy. And then they would need. But we have an intracoastal highway where we have islands where we could put up forts and embankments and we can see people before they're even coming here and getting to the mainland and make sure that they could never replenish their stock of resources or soldiers necessary to fight us. This is why Abraham Lincoln is talking about, by the way, even if you get here, where are you going to get enough men to conquer us? Because, by the way, we all have guns and we all have this spirit of, F you, we will take on you, right? Because the people that came here were people that were already leaving that other place. And this was their opportunity for greatness, right? They're not going to, and we have home field advantage. Every army has home field advantage. So to be able to come here and conquer us, impossible. Add that, what about the Canadians? Canada's a country of 20 million people. The United States is a country of 300 million people. Mexico is a country of 140 million people. Between us and Canada, we have the Great Lakes. We have a huge forest. They're not going to build an empire that could threaten us. Similarly, Mexico has no major navigable river, right? We have a big desert in between us that's a good buffer zone. There's a quote I love: "Fences make good neighbors." We've had a war with Mexico. We took a lot of their land. We took it for ourselves. And now there's a buffer zone where we haven't fought in 120 years, right? We have immigrants coming, you have issues, but we also have trade coming. There's a pro and con. Where in Europe, in 1918, you can't avoid Germany coming into France. Poland can't avoid Germany going into Poland in the 1930s. Like, those conflicts were inevitable because you just had this great plain. And you just basically, it was a highway where Russia, France, Germany were all like, all right, well, who's taking the highway to each other's particular location, right? And so they end on this note in this paragraph: the United States has capital, food, surpluses, physical insulation in excess of every other country in the world by a large margin. And so they compare us to Turkey in the sense that we're so powerful, important, not because of who we are, but because of where we are. And regardless of the truth, that distance from the rest of the world, right? That ability to maintain wealth and generate wealth and unity because of the abundance of our resources is what made us great. It's what gave us the impetus to have a Declaration of Independence, to have a Constitution, to have a Bill of Rights. Why so many people come here and they fight to want to come here is because of the wealth and riches that this country has, right? Like, so many people talk shit about the United States. You give people an option to have a passport to live anywhere in the world, like, the United States is still going to be on the top of the list for a great portion of the world. You might have some Europeans that are like, hey, I'm happy with my place. All right, sure, fine. But you go to a lot of other places in the world, they want to go to the Western world for an opportunity to succeed. The reason we were able to have such flexibility and strength in our growth as a country and eventually an empire is because of the geographic resources that we were blessed with, right? It's half work, but it's half luck. And it's what do you do with those resources? Sure, the Native Americans were here, but they didn't necessarily have the scientific acumen that some of the Europeans did, right? Or maybe some of the ruthlessness. Whatever, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, humanity is very complex. And this is why I'm a little bit over all of, like, the talking down to, like, what America is. If there was any other people that maintained this part of the world, they would probably be doing exactly what we're doing, which is increasing our global footprint, influencing the world the way we would want to be influencing it, right? There's no country that goes, hey, give me less power. And that's what we've done. We've made sure that there's no challengers that are arising. We've done it through giving people money, foreign aid, putting our military bases there, telling them, hey, you can focus on your own riches. We'll handle your defense. Now, some of that comes to the expense of the average American taxpayer. But then we also have the benefits of being in the wealthiest country in the world, right? As a combined entity. So I agree with what Abraham Lincoln said. Nobody could screw with us. Nobody could fight us. The only way we will ever lose is if we kill ourselves. Okay, all the best. Take care.